What is up, my fellow writing addicts? I'm Marissa, and today we're going to talk about one subject that I'm super interested in, Mary Sue's slash Gary Stu's. I see them everywhere. I see a lot of characters be called them, but what are they really? And that's what we're going to dive into today, along with some tips to, how to avoid them, because I always love a flawed character. They're so much fun. Really, they're just the best. So, what is a Mary Sue slash Gary Stu? Well, the definition we found and that we like is that it's a description of a original character, or OC, written by a fanfiction writer, and they use this character for wish fulfillment, to be hotter, smarter, the main character, whatever. When they put it in a work, obviously not their own, and they bend the world or even break the world and the rules and make the other characters make their characters just go crazy or out of character to make sure that their character stays in the spotlight and always is the best at everything, even though it makes no sense. Now, while it started out as just as a description for these original characters and these fanfictions, it quickly moved over nowadays to even canon characters. We've started taking a critical eye to especially female characters. They're really a target for this. And if people find a problem with them and think that they aren't a fully developed character, they are labeled as a Mary Sue, which is a negative thing, unfortunately. And again, the reason for these Mary Sues are typically a self-insert of the author, a wish fulfillment for looks, powers, dating, or you see these type of character that is perfect. They're never wrong. They don't have flaws, or at least they don't have flaws that affect them. You guys probably at this point know that I have a personal vendetta against the quote unquote, clumsy girl, and yet they can sprint a football field without tripping when they need to. But anyway, the main point I want to say is that they're never wrong, even if at first it seems that they're wrong, because later it'll be revealed they were right all along. And the bad person that dared say that they were wrong actually gets punished in the end. That is very typical of a Mary Sue or Gary Stu. I apologize for the rest of this video. I will probably mainly say Mary Sue because that is typically what people see. So it's not that I'm singling the female side out, I'm just kind of lazy. So now that we've discussed what a Mary Sue slash Gary Stu is, I'm going to issue a warning. Just because someone calls your work, whether it's for fan fiction or a actual novel or whatever, if they call your character or any characters a Mary Sue or Gary Stu, that does not automatically make them one. It is usually heavily debated what makes a Mary Sue a Mary Sue. It's just a thing. Some people are quick to jump the gun to it, and some are slowly uptake, is what happens. So what you need to do if a character gets called one of these labels is to reflect on the character and maybe go back in and see, is the character ever wrong? Or if they are wrong, do they ever get proven right later? They need to be wrong. That's how people grow. Do they ever fail at anything? Do they have flaws that actually impact them? Like if they're scared of, thunder and lightning and the main battle takes place in a thunderstorm, are they actually scared? Those are things that you can kind of start to be like, okay, my character is or is not a Mary Sue. And again, I'm going to reiterate this as much as possible. There's a lot of times where people will jump on female characters and automatically call them a Mary Sue. So always take a deep breath, chill, reflect, and then if you realize, no, my character's not a Mary Sue, just go on your day. Just let it go. It's the best thing to do. Don't start a war. It's not worth it. Now let's go on to some signs that your character may or may not be a Mary Sue or Gary Stu, whichever or. And the first one, I think it's a little hard to see, so I guess it's based on you being the author versus checking an author if they have this, but it's when the character looks and acts like the author is or wishes they could. And again, if you are the author, if the character looks or acts like you might want to be like, whoa, maybe I need to separate myself more from this character and give them their more defining traits other than what I want there. Or again, if it's for another author, maybe watch some interviews, but that one is a lot harder to nail down. Another sign is that everyone loves them, even the villain. Everyone just love and adores this character, or even better, if everyone loves them, but the villain's like, why can't you see that they're my rival? I'll take either, because I've seen both. And I mean, not everyone is gonna love a character, and I don't mean that like in canon and out of canon, but mainly in canon, someone's not gonna know about them or care about them. Someone's just not gonna like them for whatever reason. Just it's life. So throw in someone who's just like more meh, or like, no, I don't like you. Maybe for whatever reason, maybe bad history. I don't know. Another thing to look out for is that they're never wrong. We did touch upon this a little bit earlier, but like, it's really a thing. It's kind of a slippery slope. You know, you always want your character to be right and know the right thing because I think it makes them look cooler, but honestly, like across the board, it's just kind of boring because that means that whatever they say is right. If they say the boulder is gonna fall off the cliff at noon, as very specific as that is, you know what's gonna happen because that character is always correct. It's a lot more fun to see them fail and be wrong and to learn and grow from it and actually have this character arc. Because if they're always right, what's there to learn? You can also look out for a character that is over-traumatized. I see this a lot more in fan fiction than I do in normal or commercialized fiction. Let's go with that. I do see it actually a lot in animes. And over-traumatized is that they just have the worst life. Like nothing has gone right for this character. They've never had a good day, nothing. My example for you here is that there's actually an anime and I can't remember it. It's like Madoka Magica, but not as effective. Most people will be able to figure out what I'm talking about. And this girl, like, her parents ignore her, her brother beats her, her schoolmates beat her, for literally just not saying thank you. Hope not spoiling, well, you don't know the anime. And like, she finally gets a break, only to realize that it's made her life miserable. Like, there's no goodness in this entire world. And you're like, wow, can this character catch a break? And it's not, but they're also for some reason, really, really nice. Like, they're not even angry at their situation or anything. They're just like, yeah, you know, but like, always look on the bright side. And like, look, I've gone through some shit in my life and I always try to be a better person because of it, but that doesn't mean I haven't had moments where I've broken down or been upset or wished to hell that they didn't happen. It's just not realistic. So please try to make it more of a full-fledged character if you do want to add a trauma element to your character, and just don't go overboard. That's my main advice. Another thing to look out for is that everything they do, even though it's mean, or like if it was in our world would be like labeled an asshole, for some reason in their world is considered justified. And they're like, oh my god, they're such a saint, they're such a nice person, even though they just did something horrible or like really screwed someone over. For some reason, their behavior is just ignored or even celebrated. I think of Gaston, actually. They're like, yeah, you're so great. And he's like, but he's a huge dick. Obviously, that's not what they were trying to say, but that's just the example that came to mind. Also, please look out for the sign that they are the best. They're the best fighter. They won't be the best looking, or if they are the best looking, they won't know it, because let's be real, this will be a young adult protagonist. And I love them, I swear, kind of, lovely relationship. But yeah, they'll be the best at it, and like they'll surpass masters, even though they're at 16, because they're always 16. And you know, the next sign goes like hand in hand with this. We're gonna right into that, and that they learn, that they master this art in like a matter of minutes. Like they have like 1 or 2 lessons and bam, they're ready to go, you know, kill the emperor with their master like kung fu or sword fighting, whatever have you. I actually have a story. I read this in college. It was like for a writing class, and this guy literally had this girl learn like how to like dual wield swords, do karate, and all while being on her skateboard in literally 3 months. Even though I think she might have learned a little bit of skateboarding, but she didn't know any of the first 2. And we're like, what? She's supposed to be better than the master who's like 80 and she's been there for 3 months. I don't think so. But that's just the best example. It always made me laugh, but the guy was generally concerned and he was like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I guess I made that too short, and it was all good. But just look for little things like that. Like, how long does it take them to get any decent at something? And that's what it should be, decent. They shouldn't be a master unless, actually, I don't know, you're gonna have to swing that one really hard. Good luck. Not only are they the best at things, but for some reason, they're willing to take a bullet for anyone. They're so ready to die. I don't get it. but this is my long-standing curse. But they're like, I'll die for my friends, I'll die for my family. Hell, if it's to redeem the villain, I'll die for them. It doesn't matter what they've done to me, I'll do it. They're so ready. You tell them, hey, you jump off that cliff and there'll be world peace, they'll do it with no questions asked. It's kind of sad. Please get these characters therapy. Please. Also, again, all this flows together. They're like 100% pure. Like, at heart, usually at body, they're usually all virgins. And my favorite example, and guys, the restraint I've had. Most of these go with one series called The House of Night. I think I pick on it a lot. Zoe is so pure. She's a 16-year-old, and she doesn't do weed, she doesn't do alcohol, which, I mean, you shouldn't, you're underage, stop it. But, like, she is like, no, I don't want to have sex, and you don't have to have sex, I'm not shaming her for that, but she shames others for it. She doesn't even swear, guys, and I'm like, why? She says things like bull poopy. How am I supposed to take a teenager seriously that says bull poopy? I'm trying not to die laughing right now, but she is just 100% pure even after she has sex. She's just like, nope, never gonna have that again, and it's like, I'm gonna wait for the right one. Again, there's no problem with that if she didn't shame every other woman for freely wanting to do it, and it just didn't seem like a realistic teenager in my mind, but drove me nuts. Next thing to double check when you read through either your fanfiction or your manuscript, whatever have you, make sure their flaws actually hinder them. Please. Again, it's mainly the whole clumsiness thing that gets me every time because I am very clumsy. I think I have like 3 bruises on my leg right now from running into tables. But again, if I had to run away from a serial killer, I would die because I'm clumsy. That's just fact. So please go in, if they're bad at cooking, don't make them suddenly make an amazing course of food. If they're, I don't know, a scaredy cat, don't suddenly make them brave for whatever reason. You have to work it up. You have to give them a character arc. That flaw, can be made lessened so they can actually work with it, but it has to affect them. It has to make them grow. That's basically what people want to see, is growth. So this next thing to check, it's common in young adult books, so it doesn't automatically make your character Mary Sue or Gary Stu. It's just prevalent, but I prefer you take it out. Basically, they have sex for the first time, and it's the most amazing, mind-blowing sex that anyone has ever had. And I'm like, dude, chill. You probably lasted 5 seconds. Just saying. But it's always that. It's always mind-blowing. It's always amazing. The cosmos has come together. And it sounds stupid. I'm sorry, please don't use it. Please, it's cliche at this point. Just don't use it for so many reasons. And it's not the last thing isn't actually a tip, it's something I want to point out. Notice that this entire list, I have not said overpowered. And that is because I don't think it should be on a list for a Mary Sue. I don't care that a character is overpowered. Much like a lot of things, you have to treat it carefully, but so does trauma. So does, diversity. There's so much you have to be careful with. Empowered is another thing. Because or overpowered, not empowered, my bad. But just because a character is overpowered doesn't automatically mean that they don't have flaws, that they don't have things that affect them. My favorite example of an overpowered character is One Punch Man. He can kill anything with one punch. The downside is that means that he has no satisfying fight and he has to look for it. He's sad and he has other problems. That's what makes him interesting. Overpowered doesn't mean that you can fix any problem. Yeah, Superman's overpowered, but he still has kryptonite. If you hurt Lois, it'll still hurt him. There are other ways to hurt a person other than just the obvious. So please don't look at a character and go, oh, they're overpowered. They're a Mary Sue or Gary Stu. That can't just be the basis of your, idea. So if you guys are now wondering, oh my God, maybe my character's like Mary Sue or Gary Stu. I don't know why I made you sound high. Apologies. But there is a test that you can go to online. It will be down in the description below. It is called the Ultimate Mary Sue Litmus Test. And essentially it is this huge test. Please make sure you have at least 30 minutes to maybe an hour to go through. You'll have to go character by character if you have multiple characters you want to check. And let's be real, you're going to have a score. You're never going to get 0. That's just not possible. Because sometimes you will be like, does the character have this? And you're like, well, yeah. Just having one or two of the things I listed doesn't automatically make them a Mary Sue or Gary Stu. So, be careful, but look into the score. It'll tell you what you need, like what score is like worrying, what score is like, oh, you're definitely have a Mary Sue or Gary Stu on your hands. Just look into it. And so that's like the disclaimer with the site, because I've put my character in, and some characters are like higher on the spectrum of Mary Sue than others. One character in particular I have to watch real carefully so she doesn't become one, because sometimes I'm not careful and that'll happen. It's just I didn't mean for it. It just happens. So please go check that out, and I hope that it is eye revealing for you and that you can kind of fix it, which leads us to the next thing: how to fix it. Now you might be wondering, how do I fix it if I do have a character that is close to being a Mary Sue or is a Mary Sue? Well, I'll tell you how in part 2. So please, you know what? Take the test and tell me down in the comments below, is your score really high? Are you safe? Or are you worried about your character being a Mary Sue? I definitely want to find out. And make sure you hit the like, subscribe button, the notification button, all those buttons really, except for the, this button, which for some reason I can't find the word for. Words, English, it's hard. And please come check out the channel. We're on Twitter at writing_addicts, and we're on Facebook at facebook.com/writingaddicts. And I will see you in the next video for part 2. Bye!